the freedom, Mr. Adegbuyi, the freedom of association and freedom of worship, for instance, how does that affect this particular bill now? If you say there's freedom of worship and you worship what you believe and you hold so dear to yourself, and maybe in your religion, Christianity or Islam, it tells you that there shouldn't be anything like gays or homosexuals, and the other man who doesn't even believe in that which you believe in, how does this all come together? Because if we talk about freedom of association, freedom of worship, and we'll now bring all of that and put it as the main crux to say no gay union in our country. Is it a translation of the fact that we are all religious people?
We are not all religious people. You have Christians, you have Muslims, you have atheists, you have agnostics and all of that. I consider even in Christianity, the Catholics, the Baptists, and the major Christian groups are vehemently opposed to same-sex marriage because of the religious doctrine that only a man and a woman can consummate marriage. But don't forget that there are some new Christian groups who are saying that, religious rights also include, but not limited to, the right to personally express yourself, your personal idiosyncrasies. United Christian Church, somewhere in the U.S., they are publicly acknowledged the right of lesbians and gays to consummate relationship that suit their fancy. It's neither here nor there. But let me tell you, the last has not been heard. Because the fact that the Senate of
why do you say so?
No, because some people will go to court, and then we're going to have a final determination. In South Africa, before it became the first country in Africa to recognize it, as I said earlier on, had to go through litigation. And 2-3 years thereafter, it became recognized.
Yeah, so you think that this can actually, do you think that societal norms was actually strong enough? If you say that we didn't have to legislate on this or criminalize it, do you think that societal disapproval of same-sex unions or even same-sex relationships was strong enough to actually prohibit them from seeking to legalize their unions, as it were?
When you say societal values, for me, it's a function of the prevailing circumstances. It's a function of the society in which we are. If you look at the history of the countries that have painstakingly addressed this issue, the fundamental problems, the critical issues that affect the very basis and essence of society have been taken care of. Poverty, security of life and property, infrastructures. And that's why Nigeria must learn to crawl before it runs. We want to catch up with the Western world without necessarily attaining or addressing those issues that have long been addressed by the Western world. For instance, what should engage the attention of the Senate of Federal Republic of Nigeria now?
Is that about catching up with them, or about the fact that it seems that there's certain things that are already being introduced, whether or not we like it, we're already beginning to face issues that they're facing. They will face it, be it terrorism. At some point we thought, okay, we have to be fully developed for us to start getting issues of terrorism. We have to address it. These are issues are already beginning to creep in on us.
Don't compare apple with oranges. About 2 weeks ago, daredevil armed robbers invaded Shagamu and killed up to 20 people. We're not doing anything about that. And you're telling me that
we have legislation. What is the Senate supposed to do about armed robbers who are attacking?
Very well. Are they not supposed to make law for other good government in Nigeria?
I'm sure they
is the solution. What is it? If you tell me you don't know how to tackle armed robbery in Nigeria, I will consider. But I know that the solution to the menace of armed robbery in Nigeria is the creation of state police. and for each state to take into consideration its peculiarities and draw up a security outfit, form a security outfit that will fulfill its being. We're not doing that. When was the first time that the bill on this same-sex marriage was introduced in the Senate? You go and do an investigative work. The swiftness, the expeditious nature with which the bill was passed is commendable, if only they can do that to some other issues that are daily buffeting Nigeria. The cost of governance, for instance. Well, I mean, if you spend 60 to 65 to 70% of your resources on recurrent expenditure, and yet we don't have any law as quickly passed as the same-sex marriage, then there's trouble in the land. Now, between you and I, who is constituting more menace to the society? Is it two women who, in their opinion, they feel that... In
some ways, someone would argue
tell me how.
That this actually eats into the fabric of society, into the thing that makes us a community, the sense of community. Our societal values and norms are gradually being eroded.
No, when we were growing up, society was bonded because there was peace. Security of lives and property. What Chief Obafemi Awolowo did, the greatest good to the greatest number, freedom for all, life more abundant. Those things are not with us anymore. And I believe, I'm not saying, please don't get me wrong, I'm saying you can decide not to recognize, but don't criminalize, because they are two different things.
Oh, really? Maybe you bring it down, because someone is already thinking that way, saying that, please, Mr. Adegbuyi, can you justify your statement that society is changing? Are you saying that we should embrace wrongs?
Well, what makes it right or wrong? It's subjective, because in the Constitution, you have rights to your belief, your thought. You have right not to be discriminated against. I didn't put that in the Constitution.
This is discrimination?
Okay? Now, yes, some people have said that it is discrimination as far as marriage is concerned. I've told you I'm not supporting it. It's weird as far as I'm concerned. But I oppose criminalization. That anybody who parades himself as being involved in same-sex marriage sentenced to or put to jail for 14 years. It cannot stand the scrutiny of judicial analysis. I'm very sure about that, because what you're going to do is that you're going to place that bill. It hasn't become law anyway, because the House of Reps will still have to go through it, and the President will have to assent to it. If it goes through all of that, and the imprimatur of the entire legislature is affixed to it, and it becomes law, you still have to put it side by side the Constitution.
Will it stand?
Because don't assume that all laws that are passed by Parliament are consistent with the provisions of the Constitution. After all, the LASMA acts or edit or whatever have been pronounced defective insofar as imposition of fine is concerned. It's good for us. For me, in Nigeria today, there are far too many important things that should engage our attention. My attention, if I were to be president of Nigeria, my attention, if I were to be a senator of Federal Republic of Nigeria, then...
We'll just give you a few minutes, because we're really running out of time. When you talk about priorities of the Assembly, what exactly would you like them to see, just in case someone truly feels the same way as you do this morning?
But for goodness sake, repeatedly we have talked about the problems of Nigeria. I don't want to be part of the people that will continue to sound like a cracked record talking about the problems of Nigeria. What we should do, what should engage the attention, is how to solve those problems. If you want me to go over them again, they are numerous, you know. First, the number one is security of life and property. We are unsafe. Nigeria, I don't know, depending on your value system, your viewpoint, some people have the opinion that Nigeria is failed. Some people have the opinion that Nigeria is failing. But the test, whether a country is failing or has failed, is go through all the attributes of a failed state.
People will tell you that, you know, that argument is neither here nor there, in the sense that what could the legislators have done about, or what can they do about our failing state?
Oh, unfortunately, anybody that tells you that what should the legislature do about the problems of this country, with due respect, is ignorant of the dynamics of governance.
Do not get me wrong. What I'm saying is, you just give an instance about how armed robbers went to Shagamu, and they will tell you even in advanced democracies that happens.
Oh, please.
They will tell you that. But
please,
in this particular scenario,
I wish to be excused.
What do you want
in which advanced country will armed robbers invade the court, and the judge will scamper for his life, and the registrar will be shot, and armed robbers will rescue one of their own? In which advanced country? People should just give us a break. It's not as if they don't commit crimes in advanced country, but you know that when they commit 100, 80 to 90 will be caught. But when you commit 100 crimes in Nigeria, less than 10 are caught. And you're saying that that's the same thing. Why do you compare apples with oranges?
Is that for a lack of laws?
It is not as if we don't have laws, but we lack capacity to enforce our laws because of systemic problem, because of dysfunctional nature of the system we run. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be minded about our history. In any case, anthropological studies in some advanced countries have put a light to all these submissions that a society will be affected when two men decide to stay together. Tell me how. I don't know. I wish to be educated.
Well, anyway, I think I think you've made your point, and I'm quite sure you did also say, well, we hope to see how it will go finally if the House of Reps go the same way as the Senate and eventually the President.
I'm sure some activists will go to court to challenge this. And once the court says, oh yes, they have done it, it's constitutional, then we know it is part of our laws. As far as I'm concerned,
if the court thinks otherwise, what then happens?
They will declare it unconstitutional, that it's against the fundamental human rights provisions of the Constitution, because it is a matter that is worth going through the litigation process. It's good for our democracy, it's good for society, but we are in an emergency. As I was coming, that's a long bridge where you have you have problems with the, what do they call it? The joints
of the bridge, yes.
For goodness sake, your station has carried it. In any civilized country, in any country where government works, the following day, they will commence work.
They actually commence work on it. I can say that.
But they
keep
doing that on regular basis.
Yes.
What does that tell you? It's either we do quick fix, fire brigade approach, typical of the way we do things in Nigeria.